Joining us now is a man who's been with the All Blacks for over 200 tests and 2 World Cup wins as strength and conditioning coach. Nic Gill, how are you, mate?
Gilly, class to have you, mate. I'm calling you Gilly just because I've done a bit of research and that's your nickname, right? Yes, I get the thumbs up. Absolutely. We are going to be good mates at the end of all this, so I'm going to start off by calling you Gilly. Yeah, class. Can you just give us a snapshot? Andy Rowe gave a great intro of what you do, but you've been around the block for a long, long time and seen huge amounts of success. You play it up. Don't be humble. Just talk it up in terms of what you do.
I suppose my job's to make sure that the guys, the players, are ready to really rock and roll at kickoff time each week. So, injury prevention, working with the medical team, getting stronger, getting faster, getting fitter, working closely with the coaches, planning out training schedules and sessions, etc. So sort of, working with the whole staff as well as all the athletes to make sure we really come kick off.
And Goodey, obviously you've been involved, as we said, over 200 tests and 2 World Cup wins and all this stuff, which is amazing. What I want to know is, and I used to have, as a player, a love-hate relationship with the head S&C guy. Like, you hated him sometimes because you're beasting the life out of the boys, but then you love him because he'd be the one that grants you a day off or says, lads, it's an easy session today or whatever. And basically, you've got the power to be the players' best mates or the worst enemies. And is that the case over in New Zealand as well? Is it the same everywhere across the world?
Yeah, I think so. It's sort of, it's definitely a love-hate thing, isn't it? But, in my time, I've been working with rugby players for, 24 years now, 25 years. And I think that the players have changed a lot. Nowadays, at least with the guys I work with, it's, I actually have to try and hold guys back rather than push them hard.
It has changed.
So it's definitely changed, and I think we're seeing that with a lot of pros that finish up, they carry on staying fit because they end up loving staying fit and getting strong and being lean, so I think it changed a little bit. Whereas when I started, it was very different. It was getting boys, just getting them to run a little bit was tough. So you were definitely dealing with people that hated exercise, but it's very different now.
Yeah, with that, Gilly, Goody says that there's a love-hate relationship. I'm sure the partners or Goody's partner absolutely loved the fitness coach because he'd come home lean. He'd be the leanest that he's ever been. He could see his knees. He could touch his toes. So you'd be an absolute godsend. But just give us the lay of the land in terms of the athletes at the minute. Back in the day, and I only retired 5 years ago, but there was what was called a fat club. You're not allowed to say fat anymore in the UK. Apparently it's a term used as abusing someone. But is there a fat club? Does that exist in the All Blacks or not?
It did when I started. It doesn't anymore. But it does still exist in most clubs, around New Zealand. The professional clubs will still have groups like that, But in the All Blacks, generally we have a few people that we're trying to maybe drop a little bit of, we call it hinu. Hinu's Māori for fat. We drop a bit of hinu but generally it's dietary intervention as opposed to getting thrashed. The All Blacks live in hotels. We don't send players home. We're always together, so we sort of can regulate things a bit more.
Gilly, when I look at other sports, and I'm a big fan of combat sports and American sports, the term I always use is athletes. Like, oh my word, look at these athletes. And I think back to rugby players, and you could arguably say some of them are the ultimate athletes. You've worked with the ultimate of the ultimate. Can you just give us a snapshot of some of the best athletes and best players that you've worked with from a strength and conditioning point of view, where you're like, in the kindest term, this guy's a freak?
Yeah, I think there's been a few, there's been a few, and for different reasons, I suppose, and it's a pretty common question. But you're right, some players possess all the physical attributes that would allow them to be really good at anything. Except maybe marathon running. But generally, a lot of athletes, whether they're loose forwards or midfield backs or even outside backs, some of them can run like the wind, can step, on a dime. They can go all day without slowing down. Get them in the gym, and with no effort, they can move big loads. So people I think of be familiar to people up there. Victor Vito was a bit of a freak. Big, lean, powerful, fit, reasonably fast for a big man. Probably got a bit slower over the last few years, but Richie was slow and weak, but man, he had a big engine. You know, he's gone into endurance sports. Bowden Barrett, you know, like he's a bit of a weapon. You know, like he's I think he's in his early 30s now, and he's still running fast. But you know, he's been fast his whole career without doing any speed work. You know, but he's extremely fit. Who else springs to mind? Jose Gear, you know, we used to do horizontal jump testing, and he used to just jump like it was almost flying. Like he'd just jump. I can't remember the distance. It was a wee while ago, but you know, it was like a good 3 or 4 meter standing broad jump, and it would just be all this time in the year. You know, like what you used to see Michael Jordan do. So yeah, there's been some freaks. You know, Brad Thorne wasn't necessarily a freak in terms of what he'd put out, but just the fact that he had a very simple, I suppose, plan, and he stayed the same strength and size for, I don't know, 20 years as a pro and never got hurt. You know, so I think in rugby, because it's a combat collision sport, you know, the most freaky thing for me is how the players that don't get hurt, you know, over a long career, they just put their body through, you know, who knows what. Some of those collisions are pretty massive, and the freakish thing I see is just how they get up and do it again for 10, 15 years.
Are you seeing anyone come through at the moment, any young gun where you're like, oh, I'm excited to work with this cat?
Not. Oh, actually, no. There is one. He's just injured himself. Actually, Fletcher Newell, our prop that came through last year. That I think he might have played 9 or 10 tests for us last year. But young kid, 22, prop. Squatted. I think he squatted 270 in January. You know, full range squat. So strong young boy. I shouldn't say boy, strong young man. But with a big engine, and that's really unheard of. You know, not many big boppers, I call them, can move load as well as run well. So yeah, he's got an exciting future ahead of him.
Jim, could you even squat 70, let alone 170 or even 270? I don't.
Andrew,
Think back to your career.
back in my day, I was strong as an ox. I was up to about 110 kgs.
110, there we go.
Yeah, I'd jumper's knees. Gilly, with the props, right, we're seeing a massive shift in terms of the athleticism. I actually look at some props and think they are the ultimate rugby athlete. Can you just give us an idea of, out of the team of 15, what is the ultimate athlete? I know they're all very different, but from your point of view, where they're all-rounders now, would you say the props, it used to be the back rows, like the 7 was that? Can you just give us a snapshot on some of the output of these players, and maybe just finish it off with who you think out of the 15 would be the best athlete?
I think the best athlete we've got at the moment's Rieko Ioane. You know, he's midfielder, I think he's about 107 kilos. Fastest guy in the team. Can do a bronco and a yo-yo like as good as anyone else that might be 80 or 90 kilos. But he's probably, and in the gym he's extremely strong too. So he's probably the supreme athlete if you with talking about size, power, speed, endurance. You know, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying he doesn't have a bit much of a step on him, but I mean that we're not talking about, you know, that being a form of athleticism. But no, Rieko's pretty freakish. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that props are becoming. I mean, they've always been a rare breed, and they've always been a bit freakish in terms of their strength and the need to be big. But the amount of work they can get through now, and you know, the footwork and even the skills that some of the props have now is very different to 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago, you'd try and leave props out of passing drills because they just ruin it all the time, you know. Whereas now
very true.
Whereas now they're a crucial part of any attack pattern that teams sort of employ is using the tight forwards as another person to draw and pass, you know. So yeah, they're definitely changing.
And one of the things you mentioned earlier, obviously Richie McCaw, probably the greatest ever All Black to do it. You said he's weak and slow. I've never heard anyone talk about Richie like that, which is amazing. Did you say that to his face, and was he all right with it?
You know, I never said it quite as bluntly as that, but I've said it. But it didn't need to be said because his mantra wasn't about running fast in the first 10 minutes, but just not slow it down in the last 10 minutes, and that's where his ability shone through. If you watch a lot of tests where he had massive influence, it actually occurred in the last quarter of the game. Everyone else is getting tired, everyone else is getting sore, and he just didn't stop. And so his speed at the end of a game was probably better than most. But his ability to move 10 meters wasn't flash. And that's where often it's a bit of education required for younger players. Is you can have all the physical attributes, but if you read the game a bit better, you'll be in the right spots without being fast. So that was what he probably mastered as he got older.
Amen to that. That's how I played.
Me too. Very similar. That golden generation, Gilly, and there's been a few, right? You've been involved for so many years, but for me, the golden generation of the All Blacks, maybe it's because I played them and we got 50 points put on against us twice, because the likes of McCaw, like Ali Williams, Dan Carter, Joe Rockagoslow on the wing, like the list is endless of them players. Was that the golden generation? And the question is like your career highlights working with such an iconic team?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. That decade from about, I want to say, the back end of 2009 through to the 2019 World Cup was a pretty special 10 years. And you mentioned those players. You got the Manonus, Kevin Mialaros, Andrew Hawes, Tony Woodcocks. You got some amazing guys that came through there. And I think probably the highlight for me, probably would have been the last couple of weeks at the 2015 World Cup. Where it was a home World Cup for England, and they got knocked out, and we ended up moving into their flash digs. We got to hang out in their flash digs and prepare for a final, and we won the final, obviously, and that was sort of a sign off to I think 5 or 6 of those guys you mentioned. That was their last game for the All Blacks, and some of them, it was their second World Cup win in a row. One in home soil, one in foreign soil, which hadn't been done. And it was pretty emotional time, pretty sad and exciting time to be able to send that group off with such a cool win, on foreign soil and taking the World Cup back to England's digs. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Not jealous at all. Obviously, you mentioned the World Cup. Then it's World Cup year. Preparations are going to start and ramp up over the next few months. What do they look like for the All Blacks? What are the expectations? Because ultimately everyone's talking about Ireland and France as the 2 best teams in the world, which for New Zealand not to be in the picture from an outsider's point of view is bizarre. Does that hurt from the inside the camp to see that you're not kind of mentioned in the same breath?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Obviously it always hurts not being number one in the world, because that's what we strive to be. But I think we're reasonably excited about the progress we made last year. Back into last year, we made some great progress, and if it wasn't for a bad 10 minutes against England after with 14 men, we would have been really happy with the back end of the year. And I suppose we've got an exciting time ahead, because we've got a massive challenge, don't we? Going to France being number 1 or 2 in the world, Ireland having just amazing last couple of years. So yeah, it doesn't hurt. It's just a challenge that we obviously would like to overcome and rise to. So yeah, I can't wait.
I'm going to ask a ridiculous question now, but I think for the listeners, and we've got some Kiwi listeners as well, and ones that live expats around the world as well. How important is winning the World Cup for the All Blacks? Because you look at what you've done in the past, you've tasted it, and I think once you've tasted it and you understand the enormity of it, me and Goodey haven't even come close to doing it. How important is it to win the World Cup?
Oh, it's the most important thing that we play for. So, and you don't need to talk about it. The players, on a slow burn at the moment, building towards the World Cup, it's the ultimate for an All Black. It's like the Olympics for any other athlete. It's a 4-year event. You only get 1 or 2 cracks at it in your whole career, if you're lucky. And so it's the pinnacle. And so everything we do, everything that's talked about is building towards that. And I mean, maybe maybe the year after a World Cup. The next World Cup's not talked about too much, but from about the second year of the cycle, things start being talked about and ideas start being thrown around and tossed around, and obviously there's that's the ultimate. So we play for two really important trophies. The most important one is the World Cup, and the second most important one is the Bledisloe. And the Bledisloe Cup's just as massive, but it's not a 4-year pinnacle event. We play for it every year.
Jim's always talking about, just going back to the training while we've got you here, because Jim's always talking about how he's a world champion on Wattbikes. Are Wattbikes a big thing for you guys in the All Blacks? Do you guys use them a lot? So you see them on the sidelines quite a bit, but is that a big part of the training program?
Yeah, it has been for a while. Like we talk about I suppose how the athletes have changed in time, and we talk about the need for the big boys to be fitter and more mobile, and we talk about losing body fat and things like that. But they've been a tool I've used for probably 12, 14 years in the All Blacks. We've had Wattbikes with us, and so we have them everywhere we go, and are massively important for me to be able to get more fitness gains without any risk of injury. Is probably the easiest way of putting it. I can thrash guys on a Wattbike, and then we can go and train on the field, no problem. If I had them do an extra running session, I'd probably get some hamstrings and calves. So it's a way of getting some really solid energy system development, really good conditioning with low risk.
Are you hearing this, Andrew? Low risk.
I am.
No weight going through the joints.
All I heard was lose body fat. That's all I heard. Lose weight, lose body fat. That's what I need. I need help, basically, Gilly.
Yeah, Gilly, because on that, we were in Hong Kong a few weeks ago, and we played a charity game, and there was a few Kiwis actually involved in it. We know that Sean Fitzpatrick is involved with the Laureus sport. He wasn't there this time, but Goodey took over the mantle as captain of the Sports Laureus team, and I was captain of the My Name's Doddy team. And there was like this big roar and laughter in the stadium when we had our rugby jerseys on, because what Goodey said to me, it was his belly, but it actually wasn't. He had two others that were coming over at the side, and he said to me, quote unquote, he said to me, Gilly, I need help. And I said, well, look, mate, we're going to have one of the greatest strength and conditioning coaches on the podcast. We're going to do an activation with Wattbike. The time is now. Do you think there is help for a 53-year-old, 20-stone Andy Good to be able to lean up on this Wattbike or not?
Oh, absolutely. And we talk about a love-hate relationship. I've got a Wattbike in the garage, and it's very much love-hate. I hate getting on it, but I love what it can achieve or help me achieve. So now there's definitely hope, I think. Yeah.
You can set me a plan that means I'm going to. Yeah, you can set me a plan that means I'm going to lose body fat and shift a bit of timber as well. Then, Gilly.
Yeah, mate. Absolutely. I'll put something together for you, mate. You just how much weight we're going to shift?
A lot.
10 kilos would be great. 10 kilos.
Okay. That sounds good. I'm up for the challenge, mate. I'm up for the challenge.
Oh, jeez.
Nice,
and Jim's embarrassing as well. He claims that he had some world record for some Scottish rugby player on the Wattbike. It's obviously a lie, but he needs some help as well. You need to bulk up, don't you, Jim? Because I think people were laughing at your legs. I've seen bigger legs on a chicken.
Yeah, but now, if I want to bulk up, I'm not going to be able to do that, because I'm going to ask Gilly to send me some of what like Retallick and these taller, more rangy athletes are doing, and I'm going to put it out there. I think I might be able to take them. That's me talking myself up, Gilly. So
lies.
Maybe not the short power stuff. Will Skelton, the big Will Skelton who plays for La Rochelle and Australia, he was phenomenal on the Wattbike, but only short hits because he had a small heart, so he didn't want to go too hard.
Yeah, small heart, big booty, eh? Small heart, big booty.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know whether that's a good combo, but I do talk myself up on the Wattbike, Gilly. So you're going to have to send me some of the sessions. Eben Etzebeth, actually, me and him send each other a few things back on 20-minute kind of sprint sessions and stuff. So I reckon I could take a few of the All Blacks.
Well, I'll tell you what, you two write down some goals that you want to try and hit, and what you like and don't like doing, and we'll see what we can come up with, eh?
There we go.
Boy.
What do you think Goodey should expect in his first week on a Wattbike?
A really sore ass.
I might buy one of those those gel seats that just help you out a little bit. Is that not play on?
No, that's not play on the Wattbike.
leave the seat. Just buy yourself some lycra shorts with a big padded insert in there, and you'll be away. And in New Zealand, I don't know what they have if they have it over there, but in New Zealand we have this cream that you can put on. It's called butt
Chamois
butter.
cream. Yeah.
Yeah, butt butter. Yeah, get some of that to lather that up between the cheeks, mate, and that'll look after it.
There you go. I don't have to use that on the bike either. Sometimes I use that day to day.
Yeah, probably got lots of it.
Exactly.
So, Goodey, what are you looking at for this plan, mate? What are the next steps from here, mate? What do you want me to do?
Well, as soon as my Wattbike gets delivered, I need to lose 10 kilos. That's my plan. I don't know how I go about it. I've got to sort the diet out as well, but training on the Wattbike is going to help me no end, I think.
Good, because that's the thing, eh? Like, I want to know. I actually want to know what you're eating too. So, I think I want to know what you're eating, and I want to know how much time. So you might need to just, I'll get you to send me a 3-day snapshot of what your nutrition looks like.
Oh, jeez.
Gilly, does eating include drinking as well, though, doesn't it? Like, eating and drinking are the same things, right? Just to let him know.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some creative ways we can address that. Like, I'd never tell you to stop having a beer, but you just got to earn the beer, right? So it might be 10 minutes. 10 minutes is one beer sort of thing. So we'll figure that out. But if you
10 minutes, that's about 4 hours I've got to do for a night out then.
So that's the first thing is we'll sort nutrition out. But how long? 30 to 60 minutes a day?
Yeah, 60. Let's commit to 60. Let's get on there for an hour.
Really? Andrew, really? Because
max.
Because
60
you actually
max.
logged it. Yeah, okay.
60 max.
Well,
Yeah, 60. Some days you'll have none, and some days you'll have 30. And so I'll just mix it up for you. Some long, easy stuff, some short, hard stuff. And what about you, Jimbo?
I reckon I do want to put on weight. So I'm 118 kgs, can you believe it, of just pure power and bone. So I do want to put on weight, but also I know you're not going to get that on the Wattbike. So I would love to get challenged and see what the lads in the All Blacks are doing, see how far, and put my name to it and show Andrew and show the world that actually at the age of 40 that I've still got something in me, because I love the Wattbike, always have loved the Wattbike, but I'd love to see what the other lads are doing.
So you're more interested in some fitness challenge, eh? You want to take on a couple of the boys' records or standards that they achieve in different.
Gilly, please humble him. Please humble him. He's full of shit day in, day out. Please humble him.
All right, let's see. I'm putting my pressure on myself. I reckon I can take a few of them, all of them.
Okay, well, let's see. We'll definitely dig up some records and throw them at you and see how you go, eh?
Oh, you can't dig up some. You can't go back to Richie McCaw of them days. Like I was thinking, like now the power athletes digging them up is going to be even harder.
I tell you what, the power athletes now they're gonna really scare you what they do. Patrick Tuipulotu, look out. Cody Taylor, wow. Yeah,
you're in trouble, Jim. You're in trouble, Jim.
We'll see.
That sounds easy. Look forward to the challenge, and we'll keep you posted, eh?
Pod.
Rugby pod.